Well, hi. Hi, it's a snowy day in February, and well, sometimes you just don't know what to be doing on snowy days. But anyway, um, I thought I'd drop by and talk about a story from a ghost story from this book. Why I'm talking about it is people have been mentioning it to me, how they read it and how much they liked it, and so I thought I would just come on and just do maybe a little tiny, very brief little reading about it. The name of the story it's a story that occurred, well, the real life happening that it's based on occurred in St. Pierre, Miquelon, the French islands off the coast of Newfoundland. So it was based in the 1920s, this real happening, this gruesome, actually it was a gruesome murder that happened there, and it was a true story, and it was a love triangle. So it came to light as a true horrific story. Well, in actual fact, it's the way it was told to me. I didn't hear the story before that, but this young couple, what they were young at the time, took a trip to St. Pierre one long weekend, because it's quite, it's exotic over there, because it's the French islands, and the French islands are owned by France, of course, but they're situated geographically off the coast of Newfoundland. So it's French culture and French experience right in the heart of your own area. So it's quite interesting. Of course, you got to go across water to get there and so on. So, and in the time of this happening, of course, they had to get the ferry over there and from Fortune. And in my experience, I mean, I've been there, and believe you me, when it's nice whilst I've been there now, but I remember the sea voyage for sure. Wasn't exactly calm waters, but anyway, that's a long time ago. But this couple, this is set back in the 70s, actually, 1970s. And they had met this couple at university and became friends. So this couple from St. Pierre. And the couple from St. Pierre lived in this really very interesting house that was built just as the Prohibition period ended. It was built out of liquor crates and other firewood materials and so on. That was still, was left over, whatever, was remnants from the end of the Prohibition era. So they built a house from that material. And, it was very interesting. They were very proud of it, and they wanted to show it off and so on. And it was very, it was like, very European and very, was scary in places, but it was also very interesting. So the couple, the Newfoundland couple, stayed with this couple for a weekend over there. So towards the end of their leaving there, now the real story the ghost story is based on, this other couple didn't know anything about that. They just experienced something there, and it's only afterwards they found out why they experienced this horrific vision and so on. So I'll just read a little section here where they actually, the wife, she saw this, this apparition, and it turns out to be the apparition of the guy that was murdered, the guy that was in the love triangle with the girl from St. Lawrence, who was having an affair with a French merchant. It was his girlfriend anyway. So no. It was the guy that murdered was the French merchant, but the other guy was his girlfriend was obviously not very unfaithful. So and something ensued, a horrific fight and so on ensued. It was all these decades after that this all came to light in the form of a terrible ghost apparition, which has been seen a number of times. So I'll just read a little excerpt from it. They had arrived there and had some fun, like exploring the area and so on. And, after enjoying the rough ride out of Fortune and so on, they were happy to be taken out that night to see the nightlife and sample the old worldliness and delicious food at Hotel Robert, the go-to hotel on the islands. The next 2 days they toured the islands, ticking off all points on their list, and made their purchases to take home. It was on the last night of their stay in the spectacular house that they both heard and saw something which terrified them so much that had there been a quick flight back to St. John's that very night, they would have taken it. Move just a little bit. The wife sighed first, as while the husband took a nap, she was putting the final touches on her packing. As she went to walk towards the closet to get items to pack, she was confronted immediately with a figure. A young, handsome, suave man smiling, with one hand playfully up in the air, as if he were saying, "Sorry, I got here first." The figure materialized in front of her so suddenly. She knew he wasn't human, as he could not possibly have walked from the doorway without her seeing or hearing him. His wavy black hair gleamed, and the shape of the starched collar he wore bespoke of a decade-long past. His whole presentiment, from his velvet-banded top hat to the coattails, to the pinstriped trousers, to the jeweled cufflinks, spoke wealth and prestige. Suddenly the visage, without warning, seemed to turn hostile in the flash of a second, and the easy, charming, teasing smile became a mocking sneer, then an ugly grimace, as he glared at her out of angry, surprised, and tormented eyes. He was so real that she could see the buttons on his coat and the yellow gleam of his gold tooth. Before she could close her shocked, horrified mouth and utter a sound, the vision had vanished. But in its wake she could smell a pungent scent of hair cream, or eau de cologne, or soap from a forgotten era. The wife was so traumatized she wanted to wake her husband, but knew they had an early rise and a hectic trip on the ferry they both hated, on rough, uncertain waters, as well as a long ride back to St. John's. Shaking and trembling, she opted for a strong shot of French brandy instead, and fell into a restless sleep some time after. At about 3 a.m., she was brought abruptly awake by a shout from her husband. "What is that?" he shouted, clearly shocked. She came fully awake to find him looking all around in bewilderment and shock, opened the door and window, looking outside and inside the closet frantically. What happened? There was someone, a man. He was over there by the closet. He looked at me so hatefully and grinned, and when I tried to open the door, he just vanished into thin air. I saw him too. She was visibly shaking. I didn't want to wake you. He was so evil looking. He just disappeared. And on the way back then, they didn't tell any, they didn't let on about it or anything like that. So all the way back to get to the dock, to get the ferry, to get home, the host, whose house they were staying in, and where they saw this apparition, launched into this big story about the family history and so on. So that's how they found out this was a real happening, and the love triangle which precipitated this horrible happening, and how decades later they were the ones who were picked to kind of relive some of the story, or relive some of the happening. So I thought, it's quite the story, and it's one of the more popular ones in this book. This is the second collection of true stories, and like I said, it's all new stories in this book. They aren't what was in the other book, the first collection that I had out, which did extremely well. So this is doing really, really well too. And I thought this time of the year, like this kind of a grey time of the year that it's nothing like a fire, a cup of tea, cookie or whatever, a piece of fruit cake or whatever your thrill is, and sit back with a juicy ghost story from our past. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy your day. Thank you.